Hey, besties and bosses, how is everyone doing? How's everyone's holiday been? I wanted to pop in and say hello. I know some of you are taking the week off and relaxing, in which case I hope it's been wonderful. And I know a few of you have been working throughout the week, even if it's been a lighter schedule. So I hope you've had a chance to get some of those projects maybe you've been wanting to do done, or at least a start on those. I don't have planned content for today, but I was getting ready to start on my end of year ritual that I do at the end of the year. And I thought it might be really fun to share with some of you, to maybe inspire a few of you who don't have a ritual to close out and bring in the new year. And for those of you who do, I'd love to hear from you what your practice is. So hang with me and we can talk about that. So at the end of the year, I think for a lot of us in the new year, we hear all about resolutions, and it can be the first few weeks we go really strong. We come up with that list of those 10 things we're going to change this year. And statistically, and what I find with my clients and myself, what happens for most of us is after the few weeks pass, we revert right back to where we were before, that laundry list of things we're going to change or things we're going to do. Those resolutions fall by the wayside. So a few years ago, I started a bit of a different ritual that I find for me works a lot better. It feels a lot more aligned. And I find at the end of the year, when I reflect back on it, I've created a lot more of what's on that list and become a lot more of that person that's on the list. So let's dive in. So what I like to do and start with is I pull my practice from the year before, my list that I've created, and I go through and I review it and I reflect on what I have accomplished, what I have went through and created from that list, and then I have it right here with me, and what I haven't. And if you don't have anything like this from last year, you can do something like this just by taking a look back on the year and some of the things maybe you've wanted to create, and just checking in. This is all just about a check-in, a review and reflect. This isn't about judging. This isn't about coming from a place of criticism or I haven't done this or I have done this, but it's really just taking a temperature on what has and hasn't happened that I intended to. And I find this to be really helpful because some of the things that maybe I wanted to create I have and I've forgotten about, or some of those things that I haven't created, it gives me an opportunity to look at maybe what the challenge was there or what the obstacle was there, where there's still room for growth. So I find that to be a really great place to start with. And then from here, I get out let's see if I can pull this out. Get out my trusty notebook, just regular old paper, and I think a lot of you guys know that I love celebration, and I'm a big believer in the power of celebration. And I won't dive into that too much today, but there's just so much power in celebration and what it does for our brain and how it affects our happiness and success and neurologically what that does for us. And I find this to be a great opportunity from a celebration standpoint to celebrate what I've done in the year, but also as a way to close out the year. So I like to get out my notebook and go through the year starting from last January, or even this time last year, and to go through the celebrations I have, the wins I have, and I look at the different areas in my life. So my personal life, my relationships, my health, my physical well-being, how I've taken care of my mind. I look at my business. I look at my finances. I look at all the different, call them categories of my life, and I go through month by month, and what are the things I'm celebrating? What are some of they can be achievements, they can be wins, but they can also be markers of growth that I've seen in myself or things that I've created. And these are both the small wins and the big wins. I think we often forget when we look back those baby wins, those small wins we've had that have helped lead us to some of those bigger wins that we've had. So I go through, and because I tend to celebrate regularly, I go through my journal, my planner as well, and I'll look through there just to help jog my memory on some of those, because sometimes looking all the way back can be a little tricky. And I go through and just brain dump all of those and take a moment to reflect on all of those. And again, what this helps me to do is to look back and see how much I'm capable of in a year. We're all capable of so much more than we give ourselves credit for. And I think when we do this, we can really see what we can do in 365 days, what we can do in a year. So it really gives me that look back to see, but it also allows me to take a moment. I take a look at that list of celebration. I thank myself for it. I show some gratitude for that me that has already come, that previous me. I show some gratitude for it, and it allows me to close a chapter on the year, to close a chapter on that door. So Celebration is a form of gratitude. I show some gratitude. Thank you for Kim, for all of this that you created this year. And from this, then I want to close the chapter, because then I want to look forward, because we can't live in the past. That's already happened. So from this space, then I like to, now I'm feeling positive. I'm feeling all of the benefits from the celebration. I've closed that chapter to the last year. And from here, this is when I really like to get into this practice of looking into the next year. And I'm going to talk next week, I'll talk a little bit more about the mindset of future planning, but today I'll talk about the actual practicality of it. I like to then, on a fresh sheet of paper, go through, and I like to project myself from a year from today. So this time at the end of the year, next year. And I like to think, who do I want to be? When I sit down next year and I do this same exercise and I review and I reflect and I celebrate on what I've done, what do I want to celebrate? What do I want to look back and have that gratitude for? Who do I want to step into? What do I want to create? And I again, hey, how are you? I'm talking all about my personal ritual for closing out the year and bringing in the new year. And so I've just talked about how I spent some time reviewing and celebrating the year past to show some gratitude for the past year and what I've done, and to celebrate all of that and to close that chapter. And then moving into the next year, I really like to take a look at the different areas in my life. And I think this is a blend of a little bit of a painted picture, and Dr. Amen, he has what he calls a one-page miracle. I think this is a bit of a blend of that exercise. And I take the different areas of my life. So again, my relationships, my personal life, my mental well-being, my emotional well-being, my physical health, my business, my finances, those different parts, those pillars of my life, and I go through each one and I project myself to this time next year. And what do I want to celebrate in myself? What will I want to have created this time next year when I'm looking back and reviewing and reflecting? And so I go through and I write each area in the present tense as if it's already happened. So kind of like an affirmation, how you might write an affirmation. So I write this in a positive form in the present tense and as if it's already happened. Once I've gone through all of this, if it's really long, sometimes I tend to be a long writer, I'll condense it to one page so that it's a little bit more brief. And this becomes a part of my daily practice and my daily ritual. So this is actually my journal, my planner that I use every day. I transfer it into a one-page form of this. And this is taking a bit of a page from that one-page miracle. And this is then something I review every day. So in the morning, whether it's through visualization or just reading it, I read this intention, this declaration, this version of myself that I've said I want to step into in the next year every day. And this allows me each month to help me set my monthly goals, my weekly goals, my daily goals, so that throughout the year I'm stepping into and creating this version of myself. And I've done this for a few years now, and what I find to be really cool and fascinating is when I look back at the end of the year. So today, when I look back on my version I created of this last year, I've become this person, or I've become, if not all of it, a lot of this person that I set to be last year. But when I wrote this, yeah, it's so fun. It's really cool to see and be a part of. And when I wrote this last year, it was still something that was in my head. It was something I hadn't become yet. And I have to remind myself that when I look back and review and reflect, that while right now, the present me looking back is what I've written, at the time I wasn't. So I find that to be a pretty neat thing. It really works, and it really, I think, more than just having a laundry list of resolutions, it really sets an intention, not just for the beginning of the new year, but that we can take into every day moving forward, and that we can continue to step into, so that we're continuing to grow and we're continuing to evolve. And absolutely, I will say that there are times when I review it, that certain things change. It's a very, it's a living, breathing, it's a malleable thing. So this is not set in stone. So I'm going to be working on this tonight and over the next few days for the new year. In 3 months, I might find that something on here no longer resonates with me or is no longer aligned. I change it. That happened last year. I created a program at the beginning of the year that wasn't aligned, and I had written something about that. And so I just shifted it. That's not a big deal. I think as we continue to grow and as we continue to walk down our path, sometimes we turn a corner and we see things that weren't in focus before. And so as things come into focus, we can shift things around and move things around. And I don't think anything has to be set in stone. Bring them on camera. What do you mean? Oh, that means I can bring you on camera. Sorry, I don't know how this Facebook Live always works. My computer was saying I could bring you on camera. So that's just a little insight into what I personally like to do for my ritual to close out the year, to bring in the new year, and to set myself up not just for the first few days or first month of the new year, but for the rest of the year ahead, and to intentionally create that person in that life I want to be. And I love it. It's also really fun to do. So there is no right or wrong here. Just because I do this, it does not mean that this is the right way to do it or that you should do it. But I hope this maybe inspires you, if you don't have a ritual or practice like this, to adopt a practice of your own. If you want to steal mine, absolutely have it if there's something from it you want to take. And if you have your own ritual or practice you want to share, I'd love to hear it. You can just pop a message down below and share it with us. I think it's really fun to hear everyone's different practices, and that can inspire all of us to continue to add on to our practices and to grow into those. So thank you for being here today. I'm glad I got to pop in and chat with a few of you. I hope you're having a wonderful last few days of the end of the year 2017, and I'm wishing you the most wonderful 2018. And I will be back next week with some fresh content, and we'll be diving back in. We'll be going strong. So I can't wait to be back and chat with all of you, and sending you lots of love.